Okay. Hi, hello. I think we already live now, so we will just wait a couple of minutes for those who haven't joined us yet. And yeah, usually as we are waiting, we are doing some kind of entertaining. So maybe you will
We can
just
actually share some thoughts about Scottish Summit.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So Bart,
How it was, Rafael?
it was something for me way different that I was in some kind of affairs usually, but well, the networking and the community is huge. I would say, well, I, I I have enjoyed that time, to be honest, and I gathered a lot of new contacts,
True,
and
true.
understood where our colleagues can the companies which we are competing with are, and where this is that was quite something new for me.
Yeah,
And
it
what,
was the first
what
time
about
we've
you,
been in
Bart?
Scotland actually for the summit, so that's true. Usually AXUG, but this was never. There were no events in Europe this year, so quite unique one. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, oh, hi. Thank you for comments. So maybe you will just write a short comment if you are hearing us and you are seeing us. Hopefully, counting that. Hi. Ha. Okay. Cool. And usually the second question is, where are you from? So maybe today you will just say from which city you are or for which country, whatever. UK. Cool. Yes, we can see you and hear you. Amazing. Thank you for that. Okay. Cool. So just a few seconds more.
Just want to add one more comment that yeah, this session will be quite unique. Definitely, we are quite exhausted after the travels. Unfortunately, myself personally, I caught the stomach poisonous, actually food poisonous after the event we've been on the airport. So finally, yesterday I fought off the whole diseases, and today I feel a little bit better. So hopefully the performance today gonna be at least satisfying for you. So yeah, we'll
But
do it
it
the
will
best.
be kind of unique, so probably will definitely
It
enjoy
will.
that.
Another one from hotel, definitely.
As you can see, Bart is just broadcasting from Hoto. So thank you, Bart. Cool. Okay, so we will just start it. Hi again. First, you just remember to click and subscribe our Executive Automats YouTube channel. Just click on the subscribe button, and it will be much appreciated from our side. Few words of introduction. You probably already know us. We are the X Plus. We're specialized in Dynamics ERP implementation, and also we have a bunch of products which are helping our clients to solve their everyday task using the Dynamics environment. I'm Rafał Nyszewski, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar, how to automate testing of workflows, security setup, and updates in D365 FSCM environment. So again, I'm very glad that you have joined us today, and also I'm very glad that Bart have ability to host this webinar together with me. And a couple of housekeeping things, just shortly. The chat is on. We already tested, so it's working. So you can ask the questions during the webinar. Also, we are recording this webinar, so we'll send a link to the recording to the email address that you have registered with. And today already no person from X Plus, Bart Torspiech, our product manager, responsible for executive automats. Aside from the test automation, he specializes in security roles based configuration and dynamics environment. Okay, so moving forward to this webinar agenda, firstly, we'll show you how important are the security roles and user context in end-to-end testing. Afterwards, we will move to the key updates, then workflows in testing. And last but not least, the parallel test. At the end, we'll perform a short live Q&A session. So feel free to ask the questions during the whole session on the chat section. And well, now to the start of today's show. Bart, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Okay, so welcome everybody once again. Security roles and user context and end-to-end testing cycle. This will be more about sharing with you some expertise case studies we've got throughout the testing projects, because you might know we are handling the whole testing automation project from the beginning to the end. You can decide to move only with the application itself, so you've got the possibility to test on your own. We can also carry with everything which comes through, including test strategy, including all of the obstacles, management of the data, and so on and so on. And one of the elements we found out very frequently is that actually security roles are not considered for testing, that they are not part of the tests in test automation in different projects. And we would like to highlight one big importance of that test automation, it should be actually executed. The recommendation is that you are executing this with the role which is handling the business process. With that idea, you are testing the system in exact adequate way, how it was created, how it was developed. We've seen multiple issues on the production environment. The process went through, so test cases cycle went. We had full regression, full smoke tests. Everything is green. Everybody thinks that the testing cycle was completed, but on the production, it came up that there are practically no row with a menu item which added access to action item which was responsible for delivering a functionality, like posting or making some corrections. Due to that small change, due to some renaming, system actually caused major failure on the production environment. So these small aspects are, of course, your in-house development, and they can cause a massive amount of mistakes and issues on production. And if you are not doing the security verification, this might be a problem. Secondly, Microsoft also is making changes, not only into the system, but also to the roles. So potentially, you are deploying to the system unchecked roles if you are using standard, which is not a perfect ideal way, but sometimes people are using standard of those roles. You are actually giving to the users unknown bucket of security elements, plus they are extended, we don't know exactly when. So this is some kind of a flexible material, and at the end of the day, your user on the production system can, after the update, see additional functionality, additional field, which shouldn't be visible, like some margins or a new function which will actually show margins or will show some profitability of the deal or of the contract, which shouldn't be present. These elements can cause some data defraudation. So security is one of the criticalities, one of the mostly missed element in the industry. What we see that due to the complexity of security creation, a lot of possibilities to set up a different way of security in the system. This is an element which is missed, the element which is actually brought for development after the implementation process, which causes a lot of other problems. But this topic is very wide, so we're going to definitely create another webinar around that. But please consider test automation, including security roles, build, we call that very often personas. So persona stands for business user, a role in the organization, which is actually testing process, which is performing the process. So this actually covers the topic. We can carry on. I don't know if I have the rights to. Thank you so much. Secondly, building a schedule of testing. As you know, you are actually you have to maintain the one version. As simple as that. To maintain one version, you have to update practically three versions of finance and supply chain management of Microsoft Dynamics each year. This plus regulatory packages, if you have some ISVs which are giving you some localization packages, and ISVs, which are different, more business ISVs. So it is good to build for you number of releases. So you are picking the dates of general availability of this system where you're planning to upgrade. You are trying to match this with ISVs, with regulatory, and you are building dates of which you want to be ready for. For those days, you are building some strategy about the testing, the regressions, and you are preparing users for data transmission to let them know when they're going to be ready, needed for some approvals, for some knowledge transfer for test automation. With that healthy schedule, it will be just easier for you. Why we are talking here a bit about KBs, so these mid updates. There is something, there is a danger when you are upgrading your dynamics, that when you are testing your dynamics in a very long perspective, you are basically testing too long. You might test not exactly the system that you're going to get at the end of the day. What does it mean? It means that the preview availability version of Dynamics, which is released, and general availability Dynamics version, these are actually two different versions. They've got different KBs. They've got different code names at the end. So they have different fixes, different functionalities are corrected. It is good to fit those tests, so you are actually testing this on the 1 KB on one package. Might be technical, but this small element can distinguish that even you have two Dynamics Finance and Operations update 50, it might be something totally different than your other company has, or your colleague which is working on another company, or different customer for the same partner can have different code name. So these elements can also vary. And workflow and testing. This for practically test automation needs some kind of calculation. If you think that you should actually consider verification if your business case that you are about to do a test automation about. So you want to do test automation on sales and purchases, on some sales creation or customer creation, basic stuff. The automation possibility is practically big. It is very easy to do. And when you are going for more complicated examples, when you are outreaching to some workflow testing, including here purchase requisition, conversion, approval, delegation, some more logic around that, which fluctuates, which has some subpaths. This can bring the cost of creation of the test automation in that level that it might be not profitable on some solutions. That's why it is good to know that one of the solutions we're going to show you in a showcase in just a moment, the Executive Automats, has these capabilities to relog to the user, to maintain test automation, which is doing workflows on multiple users with multiple delegation levels. But this is the fact that the editing and the providing the test case or creation the test case that is doing the workflow is easy, and the maintenance of that is much easier than in other solutions. Sometimes the calculation which is done on the basic solutions like RSET can cause you that assumption that you can't do automation on that because it will be never profitable. It will be better to engage those basic users to do this as a partial test plan dedicated for manual execution. So This is one of the values that you have to consider. Plus, this is something like a stage one, which you can do. On the left-hand side, you can actually see the screenshot from the application. We're going to dive in later on into the executive automates to show you that. But this simply means that 3 test cases are chunked. They are made in kind of an end-to-end scenario, and every of those they are relogging to another system definition, so to different user which is connected into the end-to-end cycle, delivering the tests. So when we are thinking about doing that workflow testing, it is obvious that we are using some defined users in a specific structure. And the second particle of the data entity is very connected to that. The test environments are very often flushed with the data from production, which means that the configuration of test accounts, which are related for workflows, is simply vanishing. And then madness of recreation of these configuration is just putting a lot of frustration on testers, on admins. And it is good to utilize in here data entity. You can build a data entity structure which will take configuration of the workflow, so the user relations, worker relations, positions, and then package it, and of course make sure that the IDs are unique. So even if you're going to deploy that, if you're going to deploy the data entity on the end environment, it will be possible for you to deploy at any moment, that the data will be always unique. Yeah? So these are some principles about the data entities, but they are quite standard. And by doing that, you'll be able to deploy the data entity after every data refresh from production on the test, and then run testing for workflows. Quite secure. And that's about for workflows. And let's jump into the parallel tests. Parallel tests are a very broad topic, and let's show you a quick overview of what we were doing with customer. We were doing a very nice comparison of one user doing 35 test cases per business section. They had about 350 or 385 test cases for company, and the user was just going one by one, 35 test cases per each of those segments. And the result was that basically most of the test cases passed. There was no problem on the execution, and we left accounts payables and accounts receivables for parallel tests. Those 35 test cases passed flying colors, no problem. But we took consideration that there might be a possibility that we're going to cause deadlocks. Deadlocks means that database has some issues. The transactions are overlapping. System is not able to proceed with these few transactions done in the same moment. And that's why we outline a few critical scenarios where 2 or 3 different users, of course, different users, are doing close operations. And we've executed this structure, 3 processes in the parallel. Before that, we've executed sequentially 25 executions of particular business case. This actually is one of the executive automates functionality, of course, a scheduler with a type Gantt. So we are able to tell the system, please run exactly on that moment this test case, and then after execution, please navigate to the second test case. And this actually is a group which represents those 3 other test cases. And the execution of sequential test cases gave a very important and very nice result, that we found out a potential deadlock on the environment, which was found only when system was on stress, that few people were utilizing the accounts payable area, but it never happened when one user was in game. So the manual intervention, the manual verification of the stability was not enough. There was not a chance that they could apply 3-4 manual testers for verifying the stability and going through the normal test plan for their release. They had just one resource available, So they will practically never find out that on production there will be that deadlock coming for them. So when there was a peak on the environment, on the production environment, about 2 p.m., 1 p.m. after lunch, people were struggling with deadlocks, and we were able to help them later on from technical perspective with our different division dedicated for the technicalities. So that's about the parallel tests. And now I will jump into the showcase, and Rafael, you can take the
Yeah, I
prompt.
would like to mention one thing here just before the showcase. Thank you, Bart, for this section which you have just provided and the information. Cool. Just use this. You can the link which will just be shared in the chat section of this webinar. You can be used for reserve yourself a trial of executive automats with our full customer support. So we highly encourage you to take this advantage and use this link, which is right now visible in chat section. So Bart, are we ready to show the?
Yes, indeed. You can switch the screen to my one.
Oh,
And
cool.
perfect.
So, all right.
So on this section, we're going to show you just a deep dive into the executive automats. I mean, maybe not deep dive, but just walking through maybe, just to give you some concepts about the test automation. And as Rafa was mentioning, over the trial, you are learning practically everything which is about to learn about executive automats. We've got certifications, certification programs to understand this based on examples, and you can see how on the normal case studies how users are utilizing these test automation in finance and operations. What is important, how we can treat executive automats, is that this is a centralized platform for your all environments of Dynamics. So you're defining here your pre-prod, your UATs, your dev machines, INTs, everything what you've got on your testing stack, on your testing environments. You can set them up here. Production, not ideal. We would not recommend to set up here production systems, as by accident something might be executed there. It is not the best practice, but we've seen usage of executive automats against production utilized more for robotic process automation. So by very carefully create the test cases which are working as a script which is correcting data on the production environment. Possibilities, of course, this is just automation, but you have to be careful. Okay, and to get in actually inside, you have to have your environment. This is hosted as a website. The whole infrastructure is staying aside of Dynamics, so you are not installing anything on Dynamics side. So the installation for the end user takes about 15-20 minutes, and you are just later on going through the 2-hour session training. You've got then the follow-up session training, and then you are ready to go with the automation. Along the usage, you've got the support of us. Our team is ready for help, giving you some ideas, some videos, some documentations, just to help you out with some principles, some basics that you can use in your day-by-day testing cycles. The major interface in here, you've got a script. The script is actually a business process, a test case. So anything that you do in the system side can be saved as a test case, and then it can be scheduled. Scheduled means planned for Friday night, an execution of massive number of test cases. We would like to run smoke test on Friday to verify the stability of some specific modules. And then Monday, I can verify the results. And the results are available on the DevOps through the integration. So we can create these test cases in executive automats. Then they can be pushed to Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, they stay as a test plan, as a test suite. And then it helps you to utilize dashboards on the ADO side. We also have reports and Power BI integration. In Power BI, you are able to build your own reports, which might be very useful which might be very useful for further. System should load the data, which might be very useful for some triage. This is a typical dashboard that we are providing. Lately with version 4.2, this is actually an early bird access. This is one of the functionalities that we're going to release by end of June. And with this Power BI, you actually see your progress, that we had 52 test cases on the last execution, and we had only one fail. 50 test cases here, 53, one fail, 50 test cases, and 49 successes, one error message, 53 error messages, and you were able to sort of see the progression. You were able to have some pulse verification on the way, what's going on. If you see something like that, that number of error messages growing drastically, you wake up Monday morning, you see that, the first thing you do triage. You distribute tasks, you talk with people responsible for data. Mostly data is a problem then, because one of the maybe production flash covered some critical configuration for testing. So then we do triage, and then we retest to bring back the good old memories of successes. So this is a very essential view on your current reporting. And there is one more functionality here called projects. And projects gives you the aggregation level, and this represents these test suites and tests sort of management on the level of business streams. There are different ways how you can structurize and organize your test cases. It might be based on your different business units. It might be based on the work streams. And this gives you better responsiveness on smoke tests. I'm changing something in hiring, in sales. I run the tests related to sales firstly to see exactly if something failed. If not, I can immediately see if there is a potential danger on the environment. So that's why we are creating this project, that we are creating structures, so people are aware what we are testing and how quickly we can test some specific test cases. One of the other elements is a naming convention and some concepts of how to manage these test cases. This is something more general, and if you're going to be interested, we can always talk about this more independently. But when we are actually here on the right side, you can see something also very important for bigger teams called statuses. And status actually means that you are able here to tell which test case is ready, which test case is ready for review, which is draft, so it was just created. And by publishing, we are making this official. It is not anymore available for editing. And this and much, much more is available, but let me just create a test cases for you, because these are one of the best areas where you can learn about automation and see the benefits. So let's call this AR 102.1 sales orders INT. And environment and virtual user. So which environment, which of my UAT dev application I'm going to use, this comes from the project section. And the user I'm going to record with, so security access and the actual account worker, this also comes from the project. So in the project, it gives you a little bit more, not only these basic aggregation level, but gives you that possibility to understand where it's going to be done. And this is done just for a reason that we want to take the knowledge from the business users. If we are maintaining some project, let's say if we are starting the testing project and there are no documentation, there are not so good definition of the test cases, we can work with business users, so they can be asked to go in here, record test cases step by step. On the right hand side, they're going to list all steps, and then somebody from the testing team, somebody who went through the test cases, somebody who had training, goes through those test cases, and it is applying that person is applying to the test case multiple Excel files, optional steps, some additional logic to make sure that it will work any moment. Or statistically, one of the biggest issues we see is that people are selecting specific values on the grids or on the results instead of selecting more let's say predictable or like using variables in the test cases, or using something which always exists, not relying for something which might not exist in the context. So that system is not responsive now, so let me just restart. Just want to confirm, Rafael, I'm still online today, because this might happen in a hotel.
You are online. I'm hearing you. So
okay, perfect. Sometimes we've got these situations in hotels that are just distracted. Okay, it's loaded.
Oh.
So when you are loading the system, it's visible on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you've got your panel. So on the workspace, I'm just naturally performing my business process. As we define the name, there's going to be sales order creation international. So I'm doing nothing specific. I'm just walking through my business process. Everything that you select, everything that you click, listed on the right-hand side. If something was not catched, you can pause your recording, you can come back, you can do once again your sequence of actions, and then you can continue forward. You can create partial test case, let's say up to the point where you know it. Then you can pause it. Then you can play it to see consistency if all is good. So we can switch from recorder to player, which is a quite seamless solution. And then you can always click it, record once again, and continue with subsequent actions. If by some accident you found out that some element is not existing, some data dictionary is not there, not a problem. You can help yourself with these poses. Everything that you selected, like customer account 01, these values are editable. So I selected the specific one. I can provide any other existing into the field. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Let's just wait for Dynamics to provide us the item numbers. And I was mentioning Excel file. An Excel file is very nice, sufficient solution for golden templates. Golden template is a situation where you are running a multinational company with kind of a same set of test cases, same set of processes. They are just a little bit different in different organization, but the core is the same. Take a look. System refreshed, Dynamics. Maybe you had some Microsoft downtime on the sandbox. And actually, I'm left in between, so I can pause my process. Actually, nothing is lost. I can either create once again the header or dive in back to the SO. But this is flexible. I don't need to be worried about the lost effort, because partially the test case was created, and I can simply carry on with the process. And one other thing important happened. The system showed us the info log about the connection problem. The info logs are happening in very random moments. Actually, that info log was more informative. It was giving us information about the issue that happened. But sometimes you've got these info messages about the dialog boxes to make a decision. And these are very important as well, because they also happen from time to time. To prevent making that mistake in the process, that it's just surprising you that this box just came and it is ruining your process, it will simply fail, because the test case expect that these all steps we've got, those 18 steps, they're going to be executed. If there will be something unpredictable, if some element will be not found, then system will stop until or unless this element will be set as optional. The optionality, which means that it might happen, or if it won't happen, nothing's wrong, just continue. And yeah, let's say the unit price is here. We've got all we needed. I'm going to jump into header to make typical action of sales confirmation. System is telling me some problem here, and that's actually a very nice thing because we'll be able to do some negative tests as well. All right, so we can say that this is the end of the test case. I can deactivate this step in just a moment. I can click save. Stop the recording. I can click save to save my test case. And then let me walk you through the possibilities. Customer account 001. If I'm going to click edit here, I can edit that anything else that we recorded. I can apply here number sequences. I can apply here Excel files. As I was mentioning, the global template. So very possibilities to run one test cases against multiple of your organizations with different data sets. The number sequences, they are standing for number sequences created in executive automats. So simply you can run one test case 100 times, which creates a unique set of data. The sequence always increments, so it gives you the possibility to be unique. So product receipts IDs, number series, batches, and so on, so on. This will be perfect thing. And globals. Concept of globals is helping you when you are reusing multiple times number of different constant values. Let's say constantly use pins or locations, warehouses, sites. If you're going to set them as a constant, you'll be able to pick them up in every test case. And then when you are allocating that global into the test case, you modify in the global dictionary, then it distributes the data to all your test cases. So maintaining the global constant elements might be very nice. Global variables, quite obvious. You're just having some global variables which are changing data. The variable which is just vary on global execution. And variables, the normal variables, which is, let's say, creation of the customer, saving customer ID, reusing in sales. So I'm able to create a chain transaction, end-to-end testing cycle from the beginning of my business to the end and connect those dots by giving more and more data in between. So very important aspect for the variables are very important aspect to connect your test cases into one big block. There's also advanced code and code template. These two elements, actually, this is one of the new functions we are also releasing in 4.2. You are able to connect to your APIs to invoke something, to write JavaScript in here. So it's going to be executed on a test case, on a step. This gives you some REST APIs. This gives you a lot of flexibility in the actual software. And just above where we are playing with the tool, there is something called comment. Every of our test case which you create have the capability to be converted into the documentation or video. So you can create your test cases, and then you can have results which is documented by video, by document. So for pharmaceuticals, we call this an evidence of testing. And you can use that for that evidence, but you can also use this for documentation for the end user. And going even forward, we are just focusing on test cases. You are able to extract from that specific business process, which is doing sales. You can extract your security context, and you can build a role or duty which will give you access to just exact that system place. This is actually an extension to our second product dedicated for security, but we've got that connector so you can utilize that even more. But as mentioned, that's something optional that we are also offering. All right, to not give you too much today, just to give you some basic information, I'm going to just switch back to player and click play. But not from this step. We're going to run from the beginning. So you're going to see from the beginning how system works. On the test case, it relogs. So it selects the system we wanted, and it goes on through the test case. If we're going to have some fail, if you're going to have some warning messages, I can once again switch back to recorder, make some corrections, then switch back to player, playback, see it's good, it is ready, that I'm publishing the test case. Test manager knows that this is done. I can carry on with multiple other elements, and I can deliver on time the test plan. So let's wait for the dialog box. As you see, dialog box didn't happen. System had some waiting alternative, and just tells us that it didn't happen. So it is also good. And now, oops, apologize. I clicked too much on the screen, so I interrupted the execution. System needs to click on the item number. If you're going to interrupt, then it's going to, so the system clicked item number. I'm going to just help him out. And I'm going to click play once again. And then it goes forward. You are able to select data from the drop-down grids, also type it. Typing makes your test cases a little bit shorter, and this is something we always recommend to type instead of select from the rows, as this just complicates. It takes a little bit more time for the execution. In moment where we are able to, make the test case as short as possible, this is just your maintenance is bringed to the less possible, to the sort of optimal way of your of the costs. You've got your test automation that is easy to maintenance, easy to run, fast to run. And take a look on the click header. We've got this X, which means that we are seeing here some info message. An exchange rate cannot be found. Okay, we see this, and this can be for us understand it as a negative test. So I can make here a conditional step, which will tell that if there is an X here, if there is an error message, make this as a success, because we are expecting that. If there will be a success on that step, so we'll be not able to see any error message, then fail. So we can make even a reverse thinking about reverse testing, called negative testing, on the dynamic itself. And the negative and some validations, that logical checking I've mentioned, this is also bringing you the possibility to verify the results. So imagine that you were running your complex end-to-end process. At the end of the process, you verify 5, 10, 15 values, which are verifying, validating if the results of the transactions are good. Of course, status is good, but what about the amounts? What about the VATs? What about the taxes, if everything was properly calculated? Let me close it down. Everything is transferred. So right now we can simply play back the same. We can go back there or play it in background. When you are playing in background, you don't see the execution. System is doing that for you on the server side. And as I was mentioning, the documentation part, if you're going to go here, you'll be able to see multiple documentations in the video type and documents, which are describing step by step how the process looks like. This is heavily used by pharma industry or military or aviation for making the proofs of these tests. There is much more to show you, much more to deep dive in, and I would love to do it, but to not make the session overwhelmed, we're gonna switch back to the Q&A so you can ask precisely. Maybe we're gonna switch back to the screen, so we're gonna address elements which we haven't covered for you. But if you're gonna be interested, always keep in mind we are delivering free trials where you can have your tool for your own, play it for a week time, go for the certification, go for the training, and believe on your own. See everything what you can do with test automation, which actually makes your life easier, considering the one version. So yeah, Raf, take it away.
Thank you, Bart. Usually, as it was amazing. Thank you for that. As Bart mentioned, just remember about this free trial. I just shared the the link on the to show you again on the screen. Go there, click there, and leave your credentials, contact credentials, and we'll contact you to create you a trial environment of the executive automats. Okay, so we are moving forward to the question answers. We have a few of them. Maybe the first one, I will just show it right now on the screen. Is there any Microsoft standard practices document on testing?
Oh, that's a that's a nice one. Actually, that's a good question because the testing effort, the pace which was created, has to be handled somehow, and testing industry, considering the AX2012 is not ready, the industry of Dynamics is not super ready for testing, and Microsoft came up with at least two documents, which it is good to know. There is a D365 implementation guide, which Microsoft created, which gives you some principles. And also, I think 1.5 years ago, they were discussing about the test automation on the fast track session. So if you're going to be interested, I'm going to try to dig it up from the past and provide you some interesting solutions, interesting documentations. But definitely search for the D365 implementation guide from Microsoft, and it has a segment, a section dedicated for test automation, the testing itself, considering also hierarchy, security as well. So that's something to read.
Cool, thank you, Bart. I see that we have two more questions. Second one, parallel testing is also covering performance tests. Are there some limits on it?
Yeah, so indeed, we were using now in that case study at parallel testing, considering the test automation, but indeed these numbers that we were executing, this was just few tests, few sessions in the same moment. You can exceed hundreds of sessions in the same moment. We haven't encountered like a specific limit. We were running 700 sessions in parallel on the customer side to bring the stress test to verify the stability of the overall environment, to actually verify from the performance perspective if the environment will be ready for go live, to check if the blueprints are perfectly fitting, and that's the possibility. I think I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, thank you for that. Cool. The third question, I think this is the last one which we have till now. Is there any automation on data entities? Well, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. I think in the current moment, the easiest way would be to distribute this responsibility to your test manager, who will be a strategy sort of keeper, a person who's standing on top of the strategy, to do it just right after the data flush, or to the IT officer to do it after the data flush. We're working on the data entity automation, and hopefully soon we're going to give you some tips how to do that. So it will be just much easier.
Okay, I just will thank you, Bart, again. I'll just check if we have some more questions here. I cannot see more. Okay, so to prevent any extension of this webinar, I will just we are just moving forward to the end of today's session. Well, if you will have any questions, just feel free to reach us out. We will be happy to help. And again, thank you for joining us today. Remember about this free trial of the Executive Automats. It will help you to get more knowledge about the tool, to play a little bit with the tool, and to test by yourself everything which Bart said just before a few minutes ago. So again, thank you for joining us today. Have a lovely day ahead. Thank you, Bart, and cheers. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.